Good evening, everyone. This is Jeremy here at ExtremeWeatherTracker.com, updating your tropical weather at 5:44 p.m. on August the 1st, 2011. As you can see here on the visible satellite imagery, we still have Invest 91L, who I believe will soon be Tropical Storm Emily, as the hurricane hunters have found an area of low pressure, a closed low located somewhere here right over the Lesser Antilles Islands. Now let me switch over to the hurricane hunter data, and as you can see, this is on Google Earth, and the hurricane hunters flew into the system early this afternoon and started finding tropical storm force winds here in the north and east side of the system. They made a pass through the southeast corner and came back and found a closed low located here just to the east of Dominica and just to the north of Martinique islands in the Lesser Antilles. As you can see from these westerly wind barbs, we do have a closed low. They also made another pass back to the west, came into the south, and you can see the westerly wind barbs starting to show up here. And as they made their pass around to the south side, you can see these southerly wind barbs starting to show up. And that's a very good indicator that we do have a closed low in this area here, as you need all four directions of wind to indicate that you have a closed low. So I won't dwell on that long. Let's go to the water vapor imagery. I want to talk about the problems and eventual track of 91L, soon to be Tropical Storm Emily. As you can see from the water vapor imagery, here's the 91L located here, and you can see this area of dry air located just to the north of 91L, and 91L has been battling this dry air. It has been ingesting some of this dry air that's been killing off some of the convection. Also, if you'll notice on the satellite imagery down here in the ITC Z zone, there is some shear going on that's actually affecting 91L, some southerly wind shear that's affecting it and blowing some of the cloud tops off to the north and east. So 91L should start pulling away from the shear and on into the Caribbean, the eastern Caribbean, in the next 24 to 48 hours. Now the eventual track of 91L is going to depend on this trough that's located over the eastern seaboard right now. Depending on how deeply this trough can dig into the high pressure system that's located out here will depend on the track, if 91L gets pulled out to sea, or if it takes a more westerly track and affects Florida and in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, we'll analyze that shortly. I want to show you some reference points. This is Puerto Rico, this is Hispaniola in this area, and then of course you have Cuba here, and then Florida here. Now the forecast for 91L, soon to be Tropical Storm Emily, should move off in a west-northwesterly direction and across Hispaniola somewhere just south of Puerto Rico, and end up somewhere around the Florida Keys and the Florida Peninsula about 6 days from now. We'll see how the track ends up playing out. Let's go to the model views. This is the 18Z model views, and as you can see, here's 91L located just to the east of the Lesser Antilles, and the models are in fairly good agreement through 24 and 48 hours, and after that there is a great degree of variance in the models. You can see the Canadian model bringing it into the Gulf of Mexico. The GFDL is wanting to recurve it out to sea, and then there's a multitude of models that has Florida in the bullseye for an eventual landfall. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. You can also see these BAMS models. These are statistical models wanting to bring it across Cuba and into the Gulf of Mexico in this area here. So we'll have to see over the next few days if the models can get a better handle on this. This is a different model run. You can see the center here, and then you can see the agreement that it stays south of Puerto Rico and that it crosses somewhere across Hispaniola. But after that, the models widely vary. You can see the huge disagreement in the models in this area here. As you can see, the Canadian and the UK Met wants to bring it into the Gulf of Mexico, and the BAMS models also want to bring it into the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the Clip 5 here. But you have some like the AEMN model and also the GFDL that want to recurve it out to sea, as they are indicating that this trough that will be located here will be digging in deeper to that high pressure system and wanting to lift this out with it. I have another. This is this Canadian model, the one I was just talking about. I'll show you two sides of the coin. This is a Canadian model valid for 144 hours. Now, it will be initiated in this area here, and it will move west-northwest, cross Hispaniola, but stay on a more westerly track and affect the Florida Panhandle somewhere around 144 hours. And this is also bringing this storm in at a fairly strong hurricane over the next 6 to 7 days. Now, let me show you the other side of the coin. This is the GFDL. Actually, this is the HWRF model, and it's initiated somewhere in this area here, and brings it west-northwest and takes a more sharp turn and just brushes the eastern side of the Florida Peninsula. Now you can see this is a zoomed in view. This is the eastern coast of the Florida Peninsula, and as you can see, this is the center of the storm right here. You can see these very, very tight isobars that's around the storm, and as you can see, it's a very strong hurricane. And down here in the bottom, this is showing that it would be at 107 knots, which is a fairly strong storm, somewhere around 115 to 120 miles per hour at this point, brushing the Florida coast and then recurving on out to sea. So you have two varying opinions in the models. We'll have to see how they play out over the next several days. I believe if the storm remains weaker, it will feel less of that trough that's coming down and stay on a more westerly track. And if it strengthens rapidly, I believe that it will move more to the west-northwest. But as of the last few satellite frames, the storm has been moving west in a westerly direction, and it has yet to exhibit the west-northwest track that the models are indicating. So I believe the models over the next few days is going to continue to switch back and forth, possibly moving more to the south and possibly moving more to the west with the system. I believe I don't really, at this point, I don't really know if it'll get pulled out to sea. That's still in question. Some of the information that I've seen brings it directly up the Florida Panhandle Peninsula into the Florida Panhandle and then sharply recurves it out to sea. And then, of course, you have the Canadian model that brings it on into the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the BAM models. So we'll have to see how this plays out over the next several days, as the models out this far, and like I said, they're not in very good agreement. I believe once the National Hurricane Center initiates this center and nails down exactly the location of the center, I believe the models will start getting a better handle on where this thing is going to go and the intensification that's going to happen. But until then, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Definitely all interest here in the islands, as well as the Florida Panhandle, the Florida Peninsula, and the interest in the Gulf of Mexico should closely watch this to see what happens with this out day 6 and day 7, as it should be making its way somewhere close to the U.S. mainland at that point. So you keep checking back here at Extreme Weather Tracker. Also wanted to mention that all these great graphics, the model runs, as well as the satellite imagery, is all available at extremeweathertracker.com. So you keep checking back to the website, and we'll keep updating as the National Hurricane Center should name this tropical storm Emily sometime tonight. So you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you again soon.